Hello everybody. As part of my Batman Beyond 25th anniversary celebrations, I'm here with another tier list video. This time we're going to take a look at the villains of Batman Beyond. I've already done the villains of Batman the Animated Series, so it made sense to do this as well as a little side video. So let's get things started with the April Moon Gang. So these guys were in the episode April Moon, as the name suggests. I don't think they actually had like a formal gang name, but they've just kind of been dubbed the April Moon Gang. They blackmailed a great doctor who provided artificial limbs for people, and they basically forced him to upgrade their bodies to give them cybernetic enhancements so that they could have saws for an arm or be like a really armoured tank type thing. One of them's got like a whip as well for arms. They had kidnapped the doctor's wife and said they were going to harm her unless he did what they wanted, but really she was part of the gang. Had a really good ending, that episode. But the gang themselves are very basic. That Batman beats them up quite easily, especially once he learns that they've all got a special kill switch inside of them. So if they say April Moon, then their prosthetics fall off and they're just kind of left quadriplegic in some cases. So I'm putting them in D. They are not very good. Not the best start, I'm sorry. I think these are in alphabetical order, or at least close to alphabetical order. Okay, next we've got Armory. So he was a wealthy inventor at, I don't know which company he was at actually off the top of my head, but he got let go. And in order to maintain his family's luxurious lifestyle, he ended up having to put on a costume and steal things for shady foreign governments. Yeah, solid character. Pretty decent. Only appeared once. When he got caught, he was remorseful and repentful, and I think they went easy on him. So I don't think he ever came back. Yeah, so next we've got Big Time, who was once Terry's childhood friend. They walked down a similarly bad path, getting in trouble with the law. But because Terry was a child, he got sent to Juvie Hall, whereas Big Time was a little bit older, so he got sent to actual prison and served a lot of time. When he came out, he claimed that he wanted to set his life straight and get a job with Wayne Powers. I think they were Wayne Powers at the time still. But he wanted to get a job, but really it was a cover so they could steal some growth hormone chemicals. And he ended up getting doused in them, and it turns him into this monstrosity, which he loves. I think he's kind of basic as well. He only appears in 2 episodes. Yeah, I'm going to put him down as a C, I think, because there's nothing bad about him at all. Just I don't think there's anything particularly outstanding about him. Okay, next we have Blight. So he's probably the biggest Batman Beyond villain, at least for the first season anyway. Because almost everything that happens in those first 13 episodes kind of revolves around the actions of Derek Powers, known as Blight. Obviously, Powers ordered the murder of Terry McGinnis' father. He hires villains like Ink and Shriek to try and take out his targets, his rivals, I should say. And obviously, he's the main cause of Mr. Freeze returning. He clones Mr. Freeze a new body to test out a treatment that might work on him. When it goes wrong, he orders Mr. Freeze to be killed, and Mr. Freeze gets his revenge. I think Blight is probably, out of all of these original villains, he's probably the best one. Is he S tier, though? Is he as good as villains like Two-Face and the Joker and Mr. Freeze and Clayface and Harley Quinn? Oh, my gut says no. I'm going to put him on A tier. Okay, so the next character is a member of the Brain Trust. I think she's called Bombshell, but I might be misremembering. But she can like snap her fingers and cause explosions. I'm not a big lover of the Brain Trust episode. I think it's called Mind Games. But, you know, their gimmick of running a school for gifted children. Hey, gifted children. But it's kind of like a dark take on it in that they kidnap the children and take them away. Yeah, I think I'll give her a C as well. Do I like her more than Big Time? Probably not, no. Bonk. That's his name, isn't it? He's one of the Jokers. Now, he's got an unusual look to him that makes me think he might be a splicer of some sort because his skin is really pale. I suppose that could be makeup, but his head is kind of oddly shaped as well. He kind of reminds me of, what's his name from the Goonies? Hey, you guys! That guy. You'll know who he is. He first appears in Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, and actually he doesn't do very much other than get killed by the Joker when they fail to steal the components he needed. Though he does show up in an alternate future timeline in Justice League. Is it Justice League or it's Justice League Unlimited, isn't it? Yeah. Once and Future Thing. So he's kind of basic as well, so I'm going to put him on C. Now, Chucko is a member of the same gang. He's kind of on the same level in that he doesn't really do much. He's kind of like the slightly smarter one. I think in Justice League, when he turns up, he's got like this little rotary ball instead of legs. But yeah, he just exists, you know. He's not bad by any means. I think he's better than Bonk. Okay, next, Curare. So Curare is a blue-skinned member of the League of Assassins, I think they're called, or the Society of Assassins. I forget what they're called, frankly. And she's supposed to be their best assassin, and she never fails. And she gets hired to kill Sam, the DA, Barbara Gordon's husband. I've forgotten his surname now. It's not Gordon. He didn't take his wife's name when they married. And so the assassins turn on her and try to kill her, but she comes back in the future when the assassins need help from Batman to protect them from her. So she's kind of a badass, but she doesn't ever speak. You don't really see her without a mask. I know she's bald. That's about it, all I can remember about her. So I'm going to put her on the higher end of the C tier, if it'll let me. Come on. I'll just move him down. There we go. Only because she's such a badass. So Dr. Abel Cuvier, he is like the head scientist behind the splicers. So splicers are people that take animal DNA and have it like fused with their own so they can have animal attributes. There's the snake guy and the bull guy and the I think she's a cheetah woman, maybe a leopard woman. And of course there's Cuvier himself, who has got all sorts of enhancements. He's got like claws and fangs and black eyes. And Batman defeats him by injecting him with a load of different splicer serums that turns him into this big, hulking, just massive, weird flesh. And again, he's got connections with characters in Batman the Animated Series. So I think it was Harley Loves Joker comic books, which Paul Dini wrote, he showed Abel Cuvier as an assistant to Emile Dorian, who worked with Kirk Langstrom, and so that's kind of sets Man-Bat up as an early splicer. But yeah, he's fairly solid. I think I'm going to put him in the B tier, and I'm going to put him above Armory as well, if Armory would like to move, thank you. All right, next we have Cynthia from Terry's Friend Dates a Robot. So she is an artificial human that was created to be madly in love with Terry's friend, and when real women start showing interest in him because he now seems popular, Cynthia malfunctions and goes crazy and becomes like an obsessive, murderous machine. Perfectly good. I say that a lot, perfectly good. Again, only in one episode. I think just for the humour value of it, I'm going to put her at a B. Because that episode is actually quite funny. Like there's a scene where Howie takes her aside and says, "Let's just be friends." And she just goes into meltdown. It really made me laugh. Okay, next we have the DD Twins. They are members of the Joker gang. And spoilers for Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. Skip the next 10 seconds if you don't want to know. They are the granddaughters of Harley Quinn. They're very athletic. They, in the Justice League episode, Justice League Unlimited episode, they are given a power where they kind of duplicate with, I think it's with strong impact. Like if they get hit really hard, then they turn into two of them. I think there might be other conditions for it, but they're pretty good. They're probably the best of that Joker gang. Certainly the most memorable, I think. So I'm going to put them. A? Are they A? I'm going to put them at the top of the B tier. I want them up there, don't I? There we go. All right, Earthmover. Oh my god. Only appears in one episode, but is easily the most disturbing villain in the entire DC animated universe. So, there's a guy, Tony. That's all we know about him. He's a partner, or he's potentially going to be a partner in a business, but they have to hide all of their toxic waste because they can't afford to dispose of it safely. So he takes it down into a mine shaft and is kind of steering it down. There's an accident where one of the canisters gets caught on a beam, and they kind of pull the canister free, but it brings all the beams down, causing the earth to tumble on top of him. And then the canisters that are already in there spill open, and he just gets bathed in this toxic waste. And then he spends like a decade just rotting away underground, fusing into the soil. And over time he gets like limited control over the soil, and he can make like these like mud golems come out of the ground. And so long as they're connected to the earth, they can move and do things for him. And he decides he wants to reclaim his daughter, who his business partner had adopted, thinking he had died. The really great thing about Earthmover is the way that he is just completely immobile, apart from his eyes. And like when he talks, he speaks through gritted teeth. Oh, it's so creepy. It's wonderful. I'm actually putting him up in an A. He's not better than Blight, but he's one of the most memorable villains. For me, anyway. All right, next we've got Edgar from the Brain Trust. Again, I kind of talked about the Brain Trust before. They're the people that are stealing children. They're kind of like a dark version of the X-Men, I suppose. Edgar is, I think he's lightly psychic, and he's also telekinetic. So he kind of floats and chucks objects at Batman and makes him see things that aren't there. He's probably... He never speaks in Batman Beyond, but I think he does speak when he's in the Zeta Project. I'm going to put him on the same level as... what was her name? Bombshell? But yeah, solid. All right, next we have Falseface. So Falseface is interesting because he was a character that appeared in the comics in, I want to say, the late 50s, might have been early 60s. And a version of him appeared in the Adam West 1966 show. But he was like basically their stand-in for Clayface at that time. Now, this version of Falseface, he can just like change his face, and there's a really cool scene in his episode where Batman punches him right in the face, and it just goes and all twists around. Really grotesque. I like his main distinguishing thing in Batman Beyond is that he works for Cobra, or he's hired by Cobra, and they infect him with a plague that is going to infect all of Neo Gotham, and he doesn't realise it. So yeah, he's pretty decent. I'm going to put him in a B, and I'm going to put him above Armory. Again, he only appears once and doesn't really do much other than that wonderful moment where he gets punched in the face and it's all distorted. All right, next. What's his name? Fat T? I think that's his name, or Fat Tony. One of the two. He's the leader of one of the gangs, a rival to the Joker gangs. Probably the worst one on this list. Probably. Well, I guess there's still time. I don't have much to say about him. He doesn't really do much apart from play pool. Next, we have another member of the Joker gang, which is Ghoul, voiced by Michael Rosenbaum, doing a Christopher Walken impression. Yeah, he's pretty solid. He's got a great scene in... I know this is another scene in Justice League, where the present-day Batman meets elderly Bruce Wayne in the future, and they interrogate Ghoul. And present-day Batman's like holding him over the edge, going, "You need to tell me what you know, my arm's getting tired." And elderly Batman walks up and goes, "I can't believe I was ever that naive," and just grabs Ghoul, drags him away. And you kind of see a close-up on Ghoul's face as he's like going, "Ah!" And then it cuts to him confessing everything. And you don't actually see what elderly Batman did to make him talk, but he got him to talk all right. I think, again, he's a decent villain. I'm putting him on B. I think he's better than those ones. Yeah, I'm going to put him next to the DDs. Why not? All right, next we have the Golem, which is a machine which was controlled by Willie Watt. I was going to say it kind of had some Iron Giant vibes in that it's like a lonely boy befriends a machine. But the Golem is completely... there's no sentience there at all. It's just completely under Willie Watt's control. So it's kind of basic, so I'm putting him on C. Good episode. I've forgotten this dude's name, but his surname was Peak, because he had a show called Sneak Peek. So he's like a tabloid, sleazy journalist that had stolen a belt from Wayne Industries years ago, or Wayne Powers, I suppose I should say. And it made him intangible, allowing him to like look through walls and spy on people and get secrets about famous people. And he attaches one of his cameras to the Batmobile and records Terry without his mask on, and sees Bruce Wayne in the cave, and he's gonna air their secret on TV. But he's used the machine so much that his body starts to just become completely intangible. He can't control it anymore, and he just falls through the floor. And when he realises what's happening to him, he just bursts into laughter, insane laughter, because he's going to fall to the centre of the earth and probably be killed. So a nice, bright, happy villain there. I'm going to put him... I'm going to put him at the top of the B, I think. He's one of my favourites. Can I do this? Can you please? Thank you. Okay. Next we have Ink. She's got a really neat design, and she's kind of like a little bit like Batman Beyond's version of Clayface, in that she's like a shapeshifter, but she doesn't like imitate things per se. She's not like an exact match. She can like make her arms into spikes, or like make herself look like a coat, for instance, turn herself into a liquid and cover a coat, I suppose. But she has some really messed up episodes. I mean, her way of trying to kill Batman was to like shove herself down his throat, which was just really quite disturbing at the time of seeing it. And then later on, when a caretaker at her prison falls in love with her and wants to become like her, she injects him with only half the mutagen that's needed, so he just becomes this kind of amorphous seal-looking blob. Oh, it's really gross body horror stuff. But she's going on the A tier as well. Is she better than Blight? You know what, I'm going to say yes. I've forgotten this dude's name, but he is Bane's caretaker, and he uses the Venom formula to create a street drug called Slappers, which he sells to kids so that they can do better in sports. Solid episode, again. I mean, pretty much all of these Batman Beyond episodes are solid. I don't think there's a genuinely bad one. There are a couple I don't really like, but there aren't any that are like terrible. But he's just there. Like, he doesn't get revealed until near the end of the episode, so I'm happy to put him on the C tier because it's a good episode. It's just it doesn't really do much. Okay, next now, what is he called? Is it Invulnerable Man or Invincible Man? Anyway, he's another member of the Brain Trust, and through the power of his mind, he can prevent himself from being harmed. So like, he gets knocked out of the skyscraper and falls to Earth, and he just gets up and dusts it off. I don't think he says much either in this episode. He's kind of just like the muscle. But I think I like him more than Edgar, so I'm just going to bump him up there. Put them all together. All right, so this next one is kind of cheating a little bit because the Joker is not an original character. Obviously, he appeared in Batman the Animated Series. He's still played by Mark Hamill, so he's got a lot of history behind him, and that's why I'm putting him immediately at the S tier. But the version of him that we see in Batman Beyond is probably him at his most darkest and most disturbing, particularly in the flashback sequence where you see how the Joker died. If you've not watched it, go and watch it. I won't go into it now. There's probably a whole other video I could do. Oh, in fact, I will do a video about that at some point. But needless to say, he's one of the best villains across the entire DC Animated Universe whenever he appears, so he's up there. Okay, next we have the Jokers. So they are the street punks that idolize the Joker, and they kind of ride around on motorcycles, causing trouble in the city. Some of them have got some pretty decent designs. but they're kind of ineffective. I think their most significant episode would probably be Joyride, where that one, whose name I can't remember, it's something like Scrudge, something like that. Scrunk? No, I can't remember. He steals a prototype government vehicle that's really powerful, but it's dangerous as well, because if it's left for too long, it will explode. I know. What are the chances? But anyway, he steals that and takes it for a joyride around Gotham. But these guys are very low level. Batman beats them up really easily. They're rarely a challenge for him. So I'm putting them in C, but I like them more than the Brain Trust. So, oh, but wait a minute. I like these guys more than Chucko and, well, you know what? Actually, I'm going to put them. No, I've changed my mind. Actually, I'm bumping the Jokers up. I'm bumping the Jokers up above the Brain Trust. All right, next we've got Ma Mayhem, and I'm going to include her two sons in this, the Mayhem gang. So she's kind of a thief that wants to steal a jewelry set that her late husband had stolen for her in the past. And she's got two children. One of them's big and burly. One of them's small and smart. They appear in the episode Egg Baby. They're kind of like a comedy group. Solid. I like them more than the Mayhem, than the Brain Trust. So Ma Mayhem and her gang are going there. All right, next we have Mad Stan. So Mad Stan is a kind of anarchist, probably someone on the far left of the political spectrum, like the ultra far left. He wants to take down government and doesn't want anyone spying on him. He just wants people to live in peace and harmony, and he's going to achieve it by blowing stuff up. There's a reason why they call him Mad Stan. He's mostly a comedy character, but he does feature in a couple of episodes in a prominent role. There's one where he rigs Zeta, the android, with a massive explosive, and then takes a load of sleeping tablets and is just knocked out, and so they won't be able to disarm the device, or force him to disarm the device, I should say. There's also the one where Barbara Gordon is fooled into thinking that Batman had killed Mad Stan by Spellbinder. But really he was he'd been taken away and put in Spellbinder's VR, and he was fantasizing about blowing up City Hall. Voiced by Henry Rollins as well. He's solid. I'm going to put him on the lower end of B, because he's got a lot of personality. Doesn't really do much. Next, Mr. Freeze. Now, Mr. Freeze is another character that obviously originated in Batman the Animated Series. But his episode Meltdown is my favourite episode of Batman Beyond. And it just wounds me. Wounds my heart every time I see it. And I watch it quite a lot. So he gets, he's put through an experimental treatment by Derek Powers that clones him a new body, editing out the mutation that makes him Mr. Freeze. And he's given a chance to start his life over again. However, when he starts to regress, there's a wonderful scene where he's out in the snow and he's just sweating profusely. Powers orders him to be killed, so they can harvest his organs and examine what went wrong and try again. But Freeze escapes and comes back in his new suit, and he kills the doctor that was treating him, who was also a potential love interest for him. And he thinks he's killed Derek Powers, not knowing that he's Blight, and can use his radioactive heat to get out of the ice. And then he blows up the facility that they were in, along with himself. So it's pretty dark. But right up at the top, S tier. I'm going to put him just below the Joker, though, just below. All right, next we have Payback, who is a child, actually, in a I suppose it's kind of like a mech suit, sort of. And he's got this laser whip. He's targeting people that have been causing problems for children that are part of a support group that his father runs. Now, his father is very dedicated to this support group, and spends all his time working with those kids, when all the kid really wants, the son really wants, is for his dad to spend time with him. So he thinks, well, I'll go and solve these problems, and then dad will have to spend time with me. Pretty decent. I quite like his design, and his motivations are good as well. I'm going to put him probably at the top of the C tier, if it'll let me. There we go. All right, next we've got Patrick the Rat Boy, who it's not clear if he just looks like this or if he's a splicer. I have to think he just looks like this, because if the issue was that people were bullying him because of the way he looked, and it was as a result of splicing, he could undo it. But I'm not certain on that. But he's basically like a creepy, obsessive stalker type that lives in the sewer, and he targets teenage girls that have not been treated properly by their boyfriends and tries to woo them. And when they understandably don't want to be locked up in his sewer home for the rest of their lives, he murders them. Now, he kidnaps Dana, Terry's girlfriend, and Batman has to rescue her from him. He's another good villain. Probably not. I mean, I think he's got a good gimmick, and he's very creepy. He's got a bit more personality than most of the ones on the C tier. So I'm going to put him on B. Probably at the bottom of B, though. All right, next. So that's the Repeller, who is a guy in a suit that generates a field that means that no one can touch him. He's kind of like Unus the Untouchable from X-Men, except it's tech-based rather than a mutation. And he just steals stuff. So he's a generic thief with a pretty cool gimmick. Not really much else to say about him. I think he's pretty basic. Probably a bit more interesting than the Golem, though. Do I like him more? No. I think the Brain Trust have got a better gimmick. Though it's funny that I've put like 4 X-Men related characters in a row. Anyway. All right, next we have the Royal Flush Gang. Now I think this is a little bit tricky because some characters in the Royal Flush Gang are more significant than others. So, for instance, 10 is very significant. She's very sympathetic because she's trying to get away from her family's life of crime. But her parents won't let her. Meanwhile, I think it's Ace. Is just an android, doesn't talk. Jack's kind of annoying as well. King's pretty good. He's very deceitful. Voiced by George Lazenby, if I remember rightly. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But as a whole, I think the Royal Flush Gang are fairly good. If I were to rate them individually, I think 10, Melanie Walker, she'd be rated above the other members, followed by King. Then probably, it's a toss-up between Queen and Jack. But then again, I do like Ace, even though Ace never says or does anything. But as a whole, as an organisation on the whole, I'm putting them fairly high on the B tier. Okay, about there. Okay, Shriek. Shriek is someone that gets hired by Derek Powers to kill Bruce Wayne and demolish a historic area of Gotham City, because Bruce Wayne is opposing Powers' plans to demolish the historical region of Gotham and build condos or something. In the conflict with Batman, he is rendered deaf, and that's kind of his motivation from that point onwards. He wants to get revenge on Batman for taking his ability to hear, because he's a sound engineer. It's like the thing he loved most in the world, robbed from him by Batman. He's pretty decent as well. He's got a solid gimmick. I'm going to put him above the Royal Flush Gang, I think. Oh my god, now I can't remember this guy's name. It was Simon something. I should have looked this up. But he's from the episode Centuries of the Last Cosmos? The Centuries episode. So he claims to be the creator of this really popular video game franchise that's got like legions of fans and really, really deep lore. And then the best players of the game get invited to his mansion, where he tells them, no, it's not a story, it's all real, and you are going to become knights and join my order, and you must kill our enemies. When really he's just kind of bringing in naive children and making them do bad things for him. Like kill the co-creator of the franchise, who is suing him for unpaid royalties. He's also got like a fake like Star Wars Emperor style electricity gauntlets. So, the Star Wars references there are plain to be seen. I don't really care for Star Wars. I think maybe people that do like Star Wars might get more of a kick out of this. So he's going to go on C for me, I think. Better than the Brain Trust and better than Ma Mayhem and her gang. Yeah, okay, he's going to go there. Okay, so Spellbinder. Spellbinder's an interesting character because he originated in the comics. He was like an art, what do you call it? An art forger. There we go. Who noticed that certain patterns could mesmerize people, so he painted them on a costume, and then would go around doing cartwheels to hypnotize people and put them in trances. And he did the same thing to Batman. I think he did it like 3 times actually. I don't think he appeared very often. I feel like he's only appeared like a handful of times, at least before Batman Beyond started. So they took the concept of someone that hypnotizes people. They took it down a more unpleasant path, in that he was the school guidance counselor, and he was targeting the children from wealthy families that were troubled, and hypnotizing them into robbing their parents or their places of work or whatever. So there's kind of like an element of a massive betrayal of trust and like violating their minds. And he goes on to create a really addictive virtual reality world, which is a clear which is a clear analogy for drug addiction. And he gets kids hooked on it and makes them steal for him. I think he's really good. I'm going to put him up in the A tier, probably below Earthmover though. All right, next we have the Stalker, who is a big game hunter that's wanted across the world. He comes to Gotham because he thinks Batman is the ultimate prey and he wants to capture him. And then he kind of gets recruited by the government later on to work with Batman to track down Falseface. Again, he doesn't appear a lot, but he's got a cool look and quite a cool gimmick as well. He's cybernetically enhanced after he had a battle with a massive Black Panther, I think it was. And there's a cool scene in his first episode where his cybernetics are glitching after Batman's beaten him up, and he sees Batman turn into that same Black Panther that tore him up, and he just reacts with horror and goes, "You're not human!" Love it. I'm going to put him in the B tier, about there. Yeah, because he's got a good gimmick. Okay, Terminal, the next one. So he's another Joker, but he is slightly different in that he's got his own little gang. And he is a prize student at Hamilton Hill High School. But he comes in second place on one of the exams to Max, Terry's friend Max. And his parents are just completely cruel towards him, saying, well, you're the best loser. And so he decides that he's going to kill Max. And then he'll be the best. The best loser. No, the winner. Now, along the way, Max realises that the Jokers are after her, but she thinks it's Terry that's the Joker, not this guy. He's another C tier, and I'm going to put him, just above. Put him with the rest of the Jokers. The Terrific Trio, I mean, technically they are villains because they plan to blow up their base at the end, blow themselves up and most of Gotham. But they're 3 scientists that were exposed to strange radiation that transformed their bodies. Fantastic transformations, if you get my drift. So there's Magma, 2D Man, and Freon, I think her name is, highly influenced by the Fantastic Four. And they are like government-sanctioned heroes initially, until they learn that the accident that created them was not an accident. And then they try to get their revenge by blowing everything up, and themselves, because they are slowly dying. I think they're really good. I'm putting them in the B tier again. I'm going to put them at the bottom of the A tier because I like their tragic story. I've just finished editing this video and I realised that tier list did not include Ra's al Ghul or Talia al Ghul. So that's a big oversight. I consider them to be S tier. The episode Out of the Past is fantastic. It's dark. It's horrible. It's unsettling. It's a perfect Batman Beyond episode. Right, now I can't remember this guy's name, but he's the ghost in the machine. I think it's Vance something, Mr. Vance. I'm sure I've got that wrong. But he is a businessman from earlier in Gotham's history who had his mind copied onto a computer so that he could continue to run his business after death. But his son switched the computer off shortly after taking control and ran the business himself. Decades later, his grandson takes over the company after his own father's death, and he turns the machine on to get advice from his grandfather. But his grandfather, the machine, wants to take over all of Gotham, and he steals the Batsuit actually and takes control of all the tech in there. And there's some really cool imagery of just like this empty Batsuit kind of just walking around and beating up people. It's a good episode because it shows that Terry is resourceful even without the Batsuit. So it's not just, his advanced tech that's making him a good Batman. It's the man inside of it as well. A good villain, only appears once. I'm putting him on the B tier. Putting him above Armory, I think. No, I'm going to put him higher. Yeah, about there. I feel comfortable with that. Now, again, I'm sorry, this is another guy whose name I can't remember, but he runs a program for troubled children where essentially he just turns it into like a prison where the kids are put in isolation and drugged up, and basically they abuse the children, the troubled children. And Terry he investigates the program and ends up getting locked up in it because they don't want their secrets exposed. I think he's an interesting character because it's a real world problem. Children in institutions being abused. In fact, not limited to children, but particularly children. But I don't think he doesn't really have a gimmick beside being a cruel guy in a suit. I'm going to put him there. I feel comfortable with that. Solid. Willie Watt next. So he appears in a handful of episodes. The first one, Golem, where he takes control of, where is that? The Golem there. He's like a weedy little kid that's getting bullied by, what is his name? Nelson Nash. I wanted to say Flash Thompson then. He's getting bullied by Nelson Nash, and his father is like a burly construction company owner, and they've got this mech golem that they use to help them, where he steals it and uses it to smash up Nelson's car, and there's some sort of accident when Batman intervenes, and somehow he ends up being able to psychically control the machinery, and over time his powers develop and he can control most things. He becomes more telekinetic, and while he's locked up in juvie, he buffs up a bit as well. He's a pretty good villain, I think. He starts out as being very sympathetic because he's just like this skinny, weedy little kid that gets picked on for no good reason. But he becomes cruel himself. I'm putting him in B, and I'm going to put him above Armory, I think. No, he's better than Falseface. He's better than Cuvier. He's better than that. Yeah, okay, I'm going to put him there. All right, I'm comfortable with that. Getting near the end now. So, Woof, a member of the Joker gang from Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. He is a splicer that has injected himself with hyena DNA. Unlike the other splicers, he can't really talk. He just barks. He could be completely insane for all we know. He's got a really good visual design. But there's not really much else to him. So I'm going to put him with the other Jokers there, but slightly higher. Just because of that really great visual design. All right, last. One of my least favourite characters in Batman Beyond, and that's Xander, the head of Cobra. I suppose he's like the king of Cobra. The King Cobra. He is the head of this snake-worshipping cult. And he meets Terry at a martial arts dojo that's being run by, I want to say her name's Kairi. She was the girl that was kidnapped by Kyodai Ken in the Batman the Animated Series, Day of the Samurai. And now she's like running her own dojo and training the next generation of badass fighters. And Xander's there. And he takes a shining to Max and has her kidnapped and runs away with her to a Cobra base, where he's going to turn himself and everyone else into snake people and heat up the earth, causing mass destruction. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with him apart from him being a complete weirdo. I mean, as a character, it's not a bad character. It's just I don't particularly care for him. But he's got a reasonable gimmick, so I'll put him on B at the bottom. I know I like the Rat Boy more than King Cobra. I'm sorry. What are you going to do? All right, that's all the villains on this list, and I'm sure that some of my choices here will cause conversation. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hope you've enjoyed my Batman Beyond 25th anniversary coverage. There's more to come in the coming weeks. Thanks.